Hello all, welcome to Gundam Explain. My name is Adam, and let's talk a little bit about G-Saviour the movie. Is it really as bad as people say? When I first got into Gundam, I found out there was a live-action movie that was, and let me give you those details, at 1999 Canadian live-action television film. That's a big thing to take into account here. Television film, okay? Set in the Universal Century timeline. So it came out in theaters in Japan in 1999, and then I don't know about when it was released in the U.S. or whatever, but yeah, doesn't say. But anyway, okay, so this is live action, right? And it's actually made by Sunrise. So Sunrise is part of this. So this is like official, right? So when I first got into Gundam and I'm watching it, I'm kind of like, what is this? It kind of looks a little cheesy. I can't really follow the story. But after watching other Gundam stuff and coming back to this, I think I appreciate it a lot more. For one, I will say the acting is actually pretty good. And I think they chose those actors on purpose. You can kind of see the credit some of the actors have and the type of work they do. And they do seem like, good actors in general. So really with the story, it is pretty cool. It's way in the future of Universal Century. In fact, the late Universal Century, which, covers UC-105 from Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway to G-Saviour being UC-0224. So that's a big leap in time. And by this time, there is no Earth Federation government, no Zeon. They're newer, I think, down here. Okay. Earth is ruled by the Congress of Settlement Nations, called Consent. But a group of rebels, with the reluctant aid of former Consent officer Mark Karen, discovers a secret that could damage the future of mankind forever. Anyway. So Mark Kieran, the main guy in here, former Consent. I would almost say it's like former Zeon or maybe former Titans, if you will. So let's look, and this is pretty cool. So this is the beginning of the movie. Kind of does a really good idea setting up the scene, and then it kind of goes into a small little action scene with the main guy Mark. He's in kind of this underwater mobile suit, but it's not really mobile suit for battling in. But then the events start unfolding from there, right? And I just like eventually gets to the point where they're at this regal ball. Something that just screams Gundam, if you think about it. So we're going to see some characters here. Like one, this is the main, I would say the main protagonist of, or the main antagonist of the protagonist. Yeah, we've got Mark Curran, and he's dressed sort of regal. He's got like the little puffy tie thing underneath his jacket. But it was this other character, Jack, right here, which he just screams anime Gundam villain. He does an excellent job, really. So as we move forward, this, again, there's not a lot of action in this because it uses CGI that at the time wasn't bad, actually. It's not the best that you would see in film, but I think the exposition might throw people off. And there's also some areas where there's subtle hints at the plot that's not really fully it's not fully apparent in this until like multiple viewings. And after this was made, they actually then made it into a light novel, and maybe it was a series of them. And then there was a PS2 game, a few other things. And let's move forward here. I wanted to show, this, I forget his name off the top of my head, but a main kind of bad guy. It really reminds me of like a Zeon leader or a Titan leader. And again, they really do a good job with the look of this. I mean, this looks like, in a way, Gundam. And I'll kind of go back to when I was talking about the look of it, because it does look like a TV set, a TV movie set. It looks like the old 90s sci-fi, late 90s sci-fi, which a lot of the special effects were done by teams that did late 90s sci-fi shows. There's Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And then other shows around that time, like there was that sea one where they're in the ocean. Totally forgot that one. But anyway, when it comes to the presentation, if you can look past the TV movie budget, it's done very well. I myself am a fan of filmmaking, and would, I really like to get into films and kind of dissect them. And when it comes to this being a TV movie and its set design, the lighting, and the acting, it's actually really well done. Let's move ahead. And, a lot of it, though, will kind of take you back to those 90s TV shows or movies where the sets are really well done, but you can tell they are these manufactured sets for these shows. And we can kind of see here this, I think that would be considered a consent, officer is actually wearing Starship Troopers. That's funny. So, yeah, Starship Troopers, I forget when that came out. It was like 96 or 97, and there's actually a scene in here. Yeah, where they have people, just barging in with Starship Troopers uniforms. And there was another show, was Power Rangers, I think, Lost Galaxy, hopefully I'm not wrong, where there was a beginning in that where the main, I guess, characters are all wearing these Starship Troopers uniforms. Okay, so I've kind of touched on the production quality to kind of set your expectations for that, and also the fact that most of the movie in general is character interaction, exposition, but I will say the acting is well done, and the things that occur, it's kind of constantly occurring. Right here, just to give some context that really ties the story together, is some rebels broke into this hydrogen lab that's down in the bottom of the ocean. What they're doing is they're doing testing to be able to create agriculture or farms underwater in order to be able to feed the population, not just on Earth, but in the colonies. And, in true Gundam fashion, the bad guy later on, you find out that he wants to be able to control the food people gets in order to have that power. And so, the consent group here, their main thing is to destroy this bioluminescence sort of enzyme that is really the center of this. And there's a group called the Illuminati, which they are like the rebel faction, I guess you could say, that they actually have the Gundam. And this was actually a flashback to where Mark, the main character, he used to work with Consent with Jack, his main antagonist, and I guess Mark wanted to be able to go back and save someone, and Jack told him, no, there's no time, you'll damage your suit, let's keep going. But then he broke off to try to save his friend, and he couldn't, and then that got him to want to just leave completely. All right, I'm not going to get too much more into the plot. What I wanted to jump into is what I think is some of the best of this, and the reason another reason I want to make this video is because I don't think this is Gundam that should be ignored, even though it seems like in general people kind of ignore this. It's far enough in the future.
Can't see anything.
Actually, let me be quiet for a second. This part's pretty cool.
Foxtrot 1, do you hear me?
I'm trying, Mark.
I like how you just see the bullets come out of nowhere. That's a Gundam thing. And especially what's about to happen. Ooh. So his helmet just was encased in blood.
Damn it.
Now, so, I will agree. The CG in here is obvious CG, video game CG, you might as well say. But the way in which the virtual camera work is working, and the composition and the layout, I mean, you could take a single shot and it would just look great. Like, to me, the way the camera work here is, even though it's, the virtual camera, the CG work, it really lends to intense action. And so, other little things like what's going on here is Mark really cares about this guy, Dieter. I think that's his name. I might have forgot. And I really like how there are these character interactions that have weight to them, and it's not just throwaway characters and motivations. One that's questionable until I saw something early on is this character. If you haven't watched it, I don't want to give it away, but there's something that happens earlier on that I didn't catch before that leads or lends credence to her motivations, and it's something again I didn't notice before. And yeah, that means I did watch it more than once. Okay, so there's a scene that's pretty cool where, okay, these other forces come in to help out, tons of them. Actually, I wish I was at that part so I can like show how awesome that looked. And this is pretty awesome. The main guy, his mobile suit battle with the main bad guy, again, not the best CGI or animation, but the way it flows, the camera work, to me, it's passable. I don't want to complain. Now there was this scene, and I think, is it coming up shortly, where the bad guys didn't expect a whole swarm of good guy mobile suits coming in to help out. Okay, and this is Mark. There's a scene that shows him put on, I guess, the land version armor on his mobile suit, so then he can go into the colony and destroy the rest of the Bugus, B-U-G-U, which is the enemy mobile suit type. Look at that. Okay, and look, this is a great scene. We're seeing, we're seeing the main characters come in through that ship, but we saw the colony, everything going on in there. Actually, the way this scene ends is pretty cool and traumatic for the characters there. Anyway, I'm just going on and on, really, and look, I'll probably put this URL in the comments, so feel free to watch it. I'm also gonna probably do a watch along here shortly. Maybe a commentary version, or maybe just a live stream watch along, because it's better than people are making it out to be. But let's get into some of the cooler parts of it. Basically the mobile suits. Let's see. So the mechanics. So we have the Illuminati. So this is what ends up being the good guy team. They're kind of like a AUG, I guess you could say. So here is G-Saviour origin mode. Yeah, because from what I noticed in this TV movie, there was a part where the main mobile suit in space was battling and he lost some armor on his arm. He was still able to use his arm, but you could see the frame underneath. And when he goes to battle in the colony, I guess it changes from his space getup to his land. That's the little details about mobile suits that I like. So, let's look at space mode and terrain mode. There we go. So space mode. Okay, I like how this looks. What I see with this mobile suit that stands out at me, it kind of has more of the Mudrock theme and colors, but also New Gundam. We see the shoulders are very much similar to what started, happening. The shoulders started getting spikier. F91, we see how those go. So you can kind of see the design principles in effect here. Also, the side skirts here that are attached, they remind me of the GPO3, I think it is. Did the 2FB have that? Maybe, but maybe the 3. It's kind of the longer side skirts. And also because it's late Universal Century, and just like F91 or Victory, they have the energy shields. That's the newer technology. Okay, so, and then we move to where terrain mode. So yeah, it looks a little different because it's battling on land. I really like stuff like that when it comes to mobile suits, and how it can kind of be customized depending on where they're at, because that's a big element of Gundam from the first one, is that there's mobile suits that can be on land with gravity, and that they, depending on the potential of being able to fly around in that Earth gravity or colony gravity, but then also being in space and having the right gear for maneuverability. All right, so yeah, we got the main Gundam there, which looks awesome to me. Let's look at, let's see, what's this G-Saviour illusion? Huh. Okay, so I wonder if this is yeah, I wonder if this has to do with near the end where no, actually I didn't read much of this. G-Saviour's. Okay, so I guess the other Gundams they had, I didn't really look more into this, but this is a really cool looking mobile suit here. Yeah, because we kind of see some of those at the end. We see a lot more mobile suits come into play with the V-fin. Even though Gundam is not said at all, which I think makes sense. I remember I was watching F91, and when they are putting together the F91, when they say, "Oh, close the mouth," and they see the face of the F91, and they say, "Oh, that looks like a Gundam. We'll call it Gundam F91." So I can see that being so far in the future. I'm sure people know of Gundam from the past, but yeah, instead of calling this Gundam, they use G, even though they explain that. Okay, so the other one I wanted to grab, let me close these. All right, so we have Gaia, and so Gaia was that colony, and they had the RGM 196 Freedom, which is supposed to be by the time of, it's first seen in 196. Okay, and that explanation about the numbering, we have F-Saviour, and then by the time we get to G, that's where they have this Gundam film, which is kind of a cool little thing. But the idea here is, the Earth Federation, dissolved, and so by 196, this was like the last type of mass production suit they had. And, they kind of referenced this in the film from Mark and other people that, like, they had to use these older suits for so long for other places, since there's no Earth Federation force, there was no Xeon remnants anymore, or I don't even know about Crossbone or all that stuff, but anytime there was some sort of military defense force, they had these older suits. And I kind of like that. Again, that's kind of world building. All right, so Consent. So Consent is supposed to be the bad guys, or the Xeon or the Titan, where, let's see, they're supposed to be ones that look like they are trying to instill order in the Earth sphere, but really they have bad intentions, like controlling the crops, which is the main plot of G-Saviour. So here's that. It has the the mono eye, and it has that fin at the top, very reminiscent of typical bad guy stuff. Let's look at the other ones because they look cool. Yeah, so the main guy, Jack, his mobile suit, I guess they call it the CAMS 13 MS Rye. Cam W 13 MW Rye. I'm assuming MSMWS space and W, I don't know, water. Not really, but I bet they explain what that is in here. But really, what's cool is the design of the suit looks really awesome. It just incorporates a lot of neat elements, but is still unique. I'm seeing, the Briarlint kind of almost gaunt of it, the arms. That you see the like the Hyzak had the really cool looking things that came out the back, but there's like missile pods on this one. So yeah, the design is really awesome. And lastly, let's see, we've got, just to show real quick to kind of to help with this. So this takes place in late Universal Century, and that, yeah, again, 105 to 224, and we can kind of see in here what at that time, and you can actually do a search. I might do a video on it of during different times of the Gundam UC timeline what the Earth sphere looked like. We have the Lagrange points, L1, L2, and within them they have, the sides. So L4 has side 2 and side 5, and there's actually different images that kind of show different how it's moved during the UC timeline, because sometimes for either political gain or reconstruction of the colonies, they would move them around. That's really it. If you have any comments you want to make about G-Saviour, throw them in. I honestly, this was a lot better than I thought, and I would love to talk more about it. I would like it to, get a little more, I don't know, when people talk about Gundam, for it to kind of be part of it. I think the best way to go about it is if the novel this was turned into was then made into the anime, and that way we can go along the lines of considering the animes to be the canon. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll talk again soon. Hey, and just to add, the channel's been growing and I love it. It's motivating me to do more. So feel free to sig Xeon down below.